Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and I figured, you know what? Let's talk a little bit here about the Raiders game against the Chiefs. Wanted to talk about some of the games that I think that the nation needs to be rooting for today, because there are some games that if you're Team Tank and you want the number one overall pick that we need to discuss. Though before we get into all these questions, I don't have Chugs. It's just me. It's Chuck. We're hanging out today. I do have an hour to be able to, sit up here, talk a little bit of Raiders football. Good morning to everybody out there. Good morning, nation. Maybe this is something that we start trying to do going forward. Today's show, though, is presented by Panda Subs. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but a huge shout out to our guy Murbad over there at Panda Subs, diehard Raiders fan. He's extended the Black Friday deal. So if you guys want to save any money, 30% off at pandasubs.com, which I can put the link for you guys down in the comments here in just a moment. Pandasubs.com, code Black Friday. You're going to be able to save 30% off. And if you spend more than $50, you also get some free gifts. So as the show goes on, I'll kind of explain some of the products that I like. I have 3 different ones, which I like to take in the morning, in the afternoon, and at the nighttime. Dude, I don't know. Alex woke me up this morning, y'all, and she wanted to take this class. And I don't know if anybody's ever taken a class at Barry's gym. It kicked my freaking butt. Dude, I'm not going to lie. My body is hurting. I am tired right now, and it probably looks like I could use a nap. You know why? Because I could probably use a nap. King Shav, good morning to you, man. Steven, what's up? Martin, what's going on, man? What's good? Jacob, Serve, Flo. Seriously, shout out to everybody that's tuned in this morning. I'm here for, like I said, 1 hour. Alex and I got a few little odds and ends that we got to do today. I'm off today from Chat Sports. Make sure you're tuned in to Chugs today, man. He's in a battle right now. Texans, Jags. We need the Jags to win for the Raiders to get the number one overall pick, or for at least to help us out. Depending if you look at Tankathon or if you look at NFL.com, they have like who has the number one pick a little bit different, and it's based on strength of schedule. But man, oh man, I don't know. I'm going to be kind of making fun of Chugs a little bit today. I'll be over there. What's up, Low Life Reb? Hi, how do I greet you? Martin, what's up, dude? Hi from Brian from Louisville. So here's what I want you guys to do. Send in some questions right now. It can be super chats. It can be hashtag Raiders. I am literally here just to hang out, chop it up a little bit. If you guys didn't see the show that I did yesterday, it was just simply around the idea of maybe the Raiders are in a little bit of trouble with this tank just simply because Aidan O'Connell played so well. Like, I know the Raiders lost, and I know that Daniel Carlson missed 3 field goals, but that game kind of felt like one of the best Raiders games that we've seen all season long from this football team. Brock Bowers was incredible. Sincere McCormick, really excited to see what the Raiders do with him going forward. But, you got 5 games left. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got the Atlanta Falcons. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, and then you got the Los Angeles Chargers. There's a few games that are in there that you might be able to figure out a way to get a dub. This crazy mother effer here. Rebel Montana! Come here. Sorry, Chuck heard it. Bang! What's up, dude? Honestly, I didn't know he was going to come in here for that. He was like, what on earth is going on? Rebel in the lead for the December bang race. Dude, I knew that one person was going to be crazy enough to do it. See, now Chuck's like super hyped up. Now he thinks it's time to play. Can you hear him? Dude, no, we got these like giant chuck it balls, or else he just like rips through stuff. Like he literally went through an entire softball. I'm not kidding you, in less than 30 minutes. These like giant chuck it balls, he doesn't got anything on him. They take him a while to get through. Yo, Rebel, real talk, man. Appreciate that. Keep AOC for the backup. It's still just his second year. I agree. Like, to me, if you're the Raiders and you're looking at the offseason, like, why am I going to keep Gardner Minshew at $14 million? Because, I mean, let's be real. Gardner Minshew, it was a bad idea from the jump. 2 years, $25 million. But when you look at the salary cap impact, I'm not going to pay him $14 million. And if you're the Raiders and you're really going to roll with AOC and Gardner Minshew again, that's just the craziest thing that I've ever heard of, right? Like, there's no way that that's going to happen. So because you know that, if you're the Raiders, to me, you got to pick between Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. If you were just picking it based on money, it would be Aidan, right? Aidan's going to be a lot cheaper. I don't know his contract off the top of my head, but he's a 4th-round, 3rd-year rookie. Let's say it's $3 million. Let's say it's $2.5 million. You're not going to pay Gardner Minshew $14 million when you have Aidan O'Connell for $2.5 million. And like that was one of those dudes out there that I think everybody was shocked in the beginning of the year that the Raiders didn't give AOC the job. I was one of those people that thought that they'd made the right decision going with Minshew. That was clearly an incorrect decision on my behalf. But then also, like, you're going into next season, you got to start being able to allocate your money in certain ways and allocate it in the right funds. So if you're doing that, you're just going to stick with Aidan as your backup. You're not going to roll with Gardner Minshew. You're going to eat a little bit of money. I did a show last week. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. But, like, if the Raiders decide to cut Minshew, if they decide to try to trade him, no team's going to offer anything for Minshew. I don't even think if you gave up a 7th-round pick I don't even think a team's willing to give up a 7th-round pick for him. What's up, sir? How many players do we have on IR? Too many, man. I mean, when you think about the injury bug this season and, like, some of the new injury bugs and some of the old injury bugs, like, of years past, I mean, this season's bad. And it kind of got off to that bad start with Malcolm Kuntz and, a player that I think everybody from the nation was really excited to see what Malcolm was going to be able to look like this season. A player who really turned it on a lot last season, like where, people always like kind of dog me because in the offseason, I was like, man, this could be a Super Bowl caliber defense. And I really did. I really thought that it could. And I know that the defense wasn't as good as I think a lot of people were hoping, even before a lot of the injuries ended up taking place. But I think a guy like Malcolm Kuntz always makes me wonder what if he could have stayed almost as good as what he did that final 9 games of last season where he had 8 sacks in those 9 games. It was a huge, Robin to Maxx Crosby's Batman. And when you think about losing a player like that and kind of how like Patrick Graham plays his bend but don't break scheme where he doesn't always bring blitzes all the time, but if he can get a front four that can get after you and his like system, it does work out really well. And I really do sit back and I wonder like how much missing Malcolm Kuntz is really impacting this defense, even, from the start. What up, Rich Wolf? How likely is Shedeur a Raider? Will the Giants get him? I mean, if the Raiders are picking 2, if I was a betting man, if the Raiders are picking 2, I would say that they're going to get Cam Ward and Shedeur would go to the Giants. And I think Dion would be okay with the idea of Shedeur being the face of, New York. And New York's going to be looking for – the Jets are also going to be a team looking for a brand new quarterback. But, like, if I was a betting man and you were to ask me which team I think is the most likely to get Shedeur Sanders, I would say it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Shedeur's got a great connection. Rebel, I know you're here. Is there any way you could help me out with these bots here today, man? Oh, dude, he's already on it. What did I even ask for? Rebel's a real one. Spam Rebel down below. But I do think that if I was a betting man, just simply because, Shedeur's relationship with Tom Brady's obviously now a part of the Las Vegas Raiders. Brady, it sounds like, is going to be the dude that's communicating with Mark Davis very closely of like how this Raiders team should be organized. I know I've said before that it's only between Mike Vrabel and Antonio Pierce, and that's something that I am I've been told it's been something that I'm very true to because it's what I'm hearing. And I think it's because a guy like Tom Brady does really like somebody like Vrabel. But in terms of, Shedeur is handled so much scrutiny. And, this was a dude that coming into the season, I was like, if his last name wasn't Sanders, I don't even think that we'd be talking about him, right? He has shown me that he's gotten better and better. And you need a quarterback, even kind of like a dude like Cam Ward, where they always looked unfazed. Like they always look cool, calm, and collected. And you need that if you're going to play in Las Vegas. Like we know how we are. We know how Raider fans are. You need to have that thick skin. And I think one of the things that I love about Shedeur is you can say what you want about, flashing up watches. And he has said some things about his teammates that sure you don't probably love, your leaders saying. But if you're like trying to bring in a QB that has been like mentally tested, I don't know if there's been a quarterback more mentally tested coming out of college than Shedeur Sanders because all everybody ever did was say, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Doubted him. And he's kind of proving people wrong. And I respect the hell out of Shedeur Sanders for that. Once in a while, you're going to get some Chuck sightings. He knows as soon as this is over, we're going on a WALK. But I know if I say it now, he's going to lose his shit. All right, let's go to Chance-tastic. Rich, appreciate the question. Reminder, if you want to get on here, I'm just hanging out. We're chopping it up. Hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat to get those questions on. Chance, I guess Cam is out of the discussion for us. Last night's loss shocked bad for Miami. It's going to be Shedeur. I know I really do think it depends what type of head coach, what type of offensive coordinator that you're going to bring in. If you're looking for somebody that can do a little bit more of the backyard stuff, I think you want somebody like Cam Ward, where I think Ward's got more of that raw potential. Like I would want a offensive coordinator or a head coach, somebody that's creative, somebody that can be like a Ben Johnson or somebody that can be like an Andy Reid to pair that with Cam Ward. If I wanted an offensive play caller, somebody that can more execute an offense, and I know the Saints offense has been a little bit up and down, but I think somebody like a Clint Kubiak would be interesting. If the OC right now for the Atlanta Falcons, Zach Robinson, I think is an intriguing play caller where you could pair him with somebody like Shedeur, somebody that's more, I don't know, based on accuracy, getting the ball out quick. West Coast could be interesting for Shedeur, though. He's not as athletic, I think, as what a lot of people think that he is. Like, my comp here is going to scare people, but I don't want to say it's Geno Smith. He's like a better version than Geno Smith, where he can get the ball out quickly. I think their offenses both kind of helped them out in college a little bit, but for Cam Ward, Cam Ward's still my number one quarterback, dude. I think he is a phenomenal player. I think both of those dudes could be really solid QBs for the Raiders. I know some people aren't Team Tank because they're both nervous about those guys. And, Aidan did play really well, 23 of 35, 342 touchdowns against the Chiefs the other night. And, he struggled early on, and then he did. Like, he had a hell of a football game there in that second half. Took a few bad sacks, which, kind of backed us up a little bit. But it's no disrespect to Aidan, and I wish nothing but the best for Aidan. I think he's going to have a long NFL career. I really do. But, we still have – Shedeur Sanders is an upgrade. Cam Ward is an upgrade. I think even if we can get a guy like Jalen Milroe, I know some people are very controversial about him. Definitely got to put him in a certain type of offense. I would be interested in the OC from Baltimore, Monken, who's worked with another athletic quarterback like Lamar. They are different QBs, but the athletic traits. I don't know if there's another more athletic QB, because I would say Milroe is more athletic than Hurts, but Hurts is a little bit thicker compared to Lamar Jackson, who's just a freak athlete. What's up, dude? I know. Dude, he's I don't know what's been going on with him lately. He's just super clingy. I don't know. If we keep AP, do you see Scott Turner getting a real shot on the full-time OC for us? This one's coming in from Laskin. No, I do not. And the only reason why that I say that I don't is simply because you got to go out and you got to get the best candidate available. And it's no disrespect to Scott Turner. Even if this offense gets totally flipped and, if we play the way that we did even against Kansas City, and I know people are going to be like, oh, what do you mean against Kansas City? We only scored 17 points. Let's be real. I mean, I think if the weather's not super shitty, most days Daniel Carlson's going to bang through those field goals. If you told me right now, 26 points on the road in Arrowhead, you should be able to win most of those games. So I really do think that Scott Turner has been much better than Getsy. And you could see it even in the running game with Sincere McCormick getting it going a little bit. But you got to go out and you got to get the best guy. And if you get a Shedeur, if you get a Cam Ward, there's going to be offensive coordinators that want that job, that want that opportunity. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs. And the way that you get head coaching jobs in the NFL, I mean, let's be honest, it's eyeballs, right? There's certain offensive coordinators that people don't even know what they're doing because nobody's watching those games. If you get Shedeur or if you get Cam, you get one of those top two QBs, there's going to be a lot of people looking at you, and there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on you. There's going to be an opportunity for you to become a head coach, and maybe that's not your aspirations. But if you're the Raiders and you get one of those top two QBs, if you draft, I think, almost any QB, you got to try to go out and get an offensive coordinator that fits that type of player's system, which I wish nothing but the best of Scott. He's obviously somebody that you would like to try to retain on your roster, but maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Because I know he's been elevated from pass game coordinator, then he jumped up to OC. I don't know if he's ever been – I mean, he's been an OC before. He would probably try to go get an OC job. Maybe him and Norv just hang out together, man. Hey, I don't usually go live on my off days here. Today is actually one of my off days just because the holiday weekend, we got to get certain days off. I do want to say, though, really appreciate everyone tuning in. Today's show is just about hanging out and being thankful for the nation. I think this has been a really, really difficult season, and I think we can all agree on that. But the fact that, we get to wake up every day, talk Raiders still, I do really, really enjoy it. I know it's been frustrating, but honestly, I consider these shows a lot of times my therapy session. So if you're still a diehard Raider fan, if you were looking for content every single day, I promise you this, I'm going to bring commitment to excellence. I might not always give you a take that you're going to like, but that's what family does. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure those notifications are turned on. That way, anytime we do, more random stuff like this, I'm welcoming you guys into my home. Chuck's made a few appearances, and he's hanging out here. So seriously, make sure you guys are subscribed. All right, we got 300 people here in the building. Shout out to all of y'all. Football is about to get kicked off here in about an hour, 45. Chugs, I want to say, is getting ready to go live in 45 minutes on our Texans channel over at Chat Sports. So if you're looking to hang out with somebody on game day, make sure you're rooting for the Jags, though. Make sure you're heckling the shit out of Chugs, because the most important game of the day today for the Raiders is the Jags. So, which, you know what, F it. Let's talk about this here. So if you're looking for your Week 13 rooting guide, I put out a show earlier in the week. If you're somebody where you're like, you know what, I want the Raiders to have the number one pick. I want the Raiders to be able to get that franchise quarterback. Here's your Week 13 rooting guide, and these are all the games, for the remainder of the week. So the first game, the most important game, Jacksonville against the Texans. Right now, the Jags, if they lose, they go to 2-10. Only the Raiders, Giants, and Jags are sitting there at 2-10. That Week 16 game between the Raiders and the Jags could be a very interesting one. The other reason, though, why that one's so important is Jacksonville and Tennessee right now. Tennessee's got 3 wins. The Jags have 2 wins. And both of those teams, they still play in Week 14, so next week, and they play in Week 17. If the Jags can get a win, maybe they get another win against Tennessee, and maybe Tennessee can snag one. At this point, I want the Raiders to be safe, even if they win one. That way they can get one. You know what I'm saying? Because Aidan's making me nervous, dude. The way Aidan played the other day, I'm like, I don't know if we're losing the next 5 games. That guy's you got to root for Aidan, dude. You got to root for him. All right, let's go to the next one. You got New England against Indianapolis. We want to be rooting for the New England Patriots. That's obviously just because the Patriots got 3 wins plus with some tiebreakers in there, but we want to be rooting for the Patriots. The Browns at the Broncos. This is a game you want to be rooting for the Browns to win. The tiebreakers in terms of the Raiders beating Cleveland, that doesn't really matter. It's going to come down to strength of schedule. So because the Raiders play Denver twice, if they lose and our strength of schedule is worse, that helps us out more. So in that Browns and Broncos game, you want to be rooting for Cleveland. And the Jets and Seattle game, you want to be rooting for the Jets. I know, it's painful. Devontae, I mean, come on now. It's kind of funny to watch over there. I almost think that he kind of wishes that he would have stayed. I think the Raiders right now with Aidan O'Connell and Scott Turner, I think they might beat the New York Jets. And it'd actually be a hell of a football game. Can we switch that? Can we get that game going? But you actually want to be rooting for the Jets here just because they got 3 wins. That's the only reason. Atlanta versus the Chargers. I know the Raiders play Atlanta, but you do want the Falcons to win for the exact same reason of what I mentioned before with the Browns and the Broncos. Because the Raiders play the Chargers twice, the worse that they do, the worse that our strength of schedule is, the more it helps us out get the number 1 pick. Carolina versus Tampa Bay. I know we play both of these teams this season, but because Carolina's got the 3 wins, you want to root for Carolina. Tennessee at Washington. This is another really, really big, important game. You want to root for the Titans in that one because they got 3 wins. And then Philadelphia at Baltimore, if you're wondering what you should root for there, that one is another one you should be rooting for, the Philadelphia Eagles, which I'm really excited to see Saquon and King Henry go in that one. But you want to root for the Eagles because the Raiders played the Baltimore Ravens and they don't play Philadelphia. Who's a better running back? If you could pick a running back right now on your team, who would you go with? Derrick Henry, DH, or Saquon Barkley, SB? Derrick Henry, DH, Saquon Barkley, SB. What do you guys got for me? What do you got for me? Serb, will we get swept by the entire AFC West? Probably. I mean, we got the Chargers Week 18, and if you get through the entire season, right, and you're sitting there at 2-14, and you're a loss away from getting a potential franchise quarterback. I'm not saying the team's going to try to lose. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that you're going to see the Raiders put certain guys out there on the field where it almost just ends up happening. Now, Crosby might say you're going to have to cut my leg off in order for that to happen, and he might get some time out there. But what if Mark also sits down with Max before the game and he's like, hey, man, listen, we got to get this thing going. We got to get a QB. I know you want to win football games every day, but let's plan for the long run. And I don't know if Mark would do that, but I do think the only guy that Maxx Crosby would ever listen to in that situation is Mark Davis. Those two are very, very close, so we'll see. Today's show is sponsored by Panda Sups, and like I said, I want to introduce you guys to 3 products that I do really, really enjoy. and 3 products that I use every day. I do got to give a shout out again. Panda Subs is owned and operated by a diehard Raiders fan. I'm going to put a link for you guys down in the comments. It's also in the description of today's show. It's pandasubs.com. Use code Black Friday. Obviously, it's December 1st. So he's extended the deal a little bit longer, and I don't know how long he's going to do. It's going to be the best deal that he does all year long. It's his top deal. 30% off, code Black Friday. And if you spend more than $50, Chuck here, which he recommends. I just realized you guys couldn't see what I was looking at. But seriously, code Black Friday. The first product I want to show you is it's called Burn. It's a thermogenic, so it's a fat burner. You can take a scoop of it. I'll admit, if you're sensitive to caffeine, maybe only take like a half a scoop. But somebody like me, I'm not afraid to admit it. We drink a lot here on the show, so you put on some extra weight. And not every single day I can get to the gym, but I know if I can't get to a gym the certain day, I'll take a scoop of the Burn, and I'll be sitting at work, and you sweat a little bit more. You help burn a few extra calories. But it's wedding season, man. I'm trying to shred some weight, and sometimes y'all make it a little bit difficult on me, especially, Rebel coming in here trying to bang. But, we have a lot of fun, I think, as Raider fans. I also know I eat really well. My fiance, she's Mexican, so like Thanksgiving yesterday or 2 days ago, 3 days ago, shit, we did it on Wednesday, was like your typical Mexican food with like, dude, we had so much shit. And then we also had just unbelievably amounts of Thanksgiving food. I ate so much food over the past 2 or 3 days. I'm telling you, I need this Burn. So if you're like, bro, yeah, I could shred a few extra pounds during the holidays, I recommend checking out the Burn. Again, pandasubs.com, code Black Friday, 30% off, and you get some free gifts if you spend over $50. All right, let's get back into some questions here. Just Nick says Cam Ward is overrated. He holds the ball for way too long, trouble turning the ball over, very inconsistent, which sounds a lot like Derek Carr, and I don't want that. I appreciate the comparison. I mean, I do think that Cam Ward is a better quarterback than DC. I'll admit that coming out of college, I actually kind of liked the comp overall because DC was a lot more athletic before the injury, no doubt about it, and DC was a hell of a QB, probably would have won the MVP in 2016. I think that's actually a very interesting comp now that I'm thinking about it. I still believe, though, that Cam has like better ability to throw on different levels. He does hang on to the football for a long time. I will admit, though, I wonder if you put him with more, like even like more talented players, could he be even a little bit more successful? I think also Cam knows that defense is really flipping bad, so he always has to make plays happen. And that's another quarterback where he's not overly athletic. He can make things happen with his legs. I am worried that he's going to turn out to be I don't want to say like Cordell Jones, but like a big-bodied QB where, he's got talented arm. He's just not going to be quick enough as an evaluator, as a processor overall. That is a concern that I have in mind with Cam, but I do think that I believe in guys that absolutely love football, and I'll bet on players that get better and better. And I don't know the coaching staffs inside and out at Miami compared to Washington State. I'm not going to act like I do, but you see Cam Ward get significantly better, and I'm just going to imagine that the coaches at Miami are better. Maybe that's just me being dumb, and the players are better, and you get to work with better players. And when you see a guy get better and better and better, that's a trait that I'll always believe in. And, call me crazy, but I want a quarterback like that to pair with Tom Brady. And maybe that's a dumb, humble opinion. I'm not saying we're going to get the next Tom Brady, but if Mark's going to entrust Brady to be this next guy to pick out our QB, you got to have that like Maxx Crosby type of mentality when it comes to being a quarterback. Like you got to freaking love it. And some of the coaches, and it's another reason why I kind of like the Shedeur idea. That kid loves football. When you listen to a lot of the coaches around Cam Ward, it's like that guy is obsessed with football. The reason why he's not going to be the next Jamarcus Russell is because Jamarcus Russell didn't love football. And you got to find guys that love football. And I think that that's a really important thing when you pair with somebody like, Tom Brady. What up, Jake Serb? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Cheers, y'all. It's funny. Yesterday or last night, Alex and I, we had some wine. We actually just went to go see the new Gladiator movie. So some of y'all might make fun of me for this a little bit. I'm not a big movie person. And I watch a lot more movies now. Alex and I, we've been dating for 4 years. I've probably seen more movies in the last 4 years of my life than I have my entire life. Just because growing up, my dad was a big, like, either, go cut the grass or go, like, be outside type of guy. I am from the middle of nowhere, which I get is a lot easier to do than, if I were to be here in Dallas. Anyway, though, I never seen the first Gladiator. So I said that to her, And we were planning on going to see Gladiator late last night. And I was like, yeah, well, I've never seen the first one. And she about had a heart attack. She's like, well, we can't go see the second one until you see the first one. So we watched the first one and we went to go see the second one last night. Afterwards, we had some wine, we had some drinks. And this class that I took this morning, I'm telling you what, absolutely kicked my butt. But I thought about all right, I'm off. I'm never off on Sundays. And we have this get together tonight at 6:00, but I'm never off on Sundays. I'm like, dude, how awesome would it be to just crack open a beer, watch a little bit of Sunday football? Not a happy dad. I do not want a happy dad today. Today's probably the first Sunday, and I don't know how long that I have a happy dad. But just cracking open something, maybe having a mimosa or something like that. I need to bounce back from this workout class I took this morning. I feel like I'm 100 years old. I really do. Has anybody seen the new Gladiator movie? It's crazy, dude. It really is. It's I thought it was so good. Now, I still think the first one was better, and that's usually the case, right? Usually the first one's better. But dude, I'll tell you what, I thought it was a sick movie. There's one part, oh my God, dude. Alex and I were talking about it today. This guy just gets impaled by a spear, and you're gonna know exactly the point in this movie that I'm talking about. And there's just this battle, and this guy gets impaled by a spear, and it would be like you getting impaled by a telephone pole. It was unbelievable. Dude, I'm telling you what, you felt it. You felt it in your chest. And if you watch the movie, you're going to see that part, and you're going to remember this. You're going to be like, that's what that mother effer was talking about. Dude, Ivan, you haven't seen it either? No, dude, you got to watch it. You got to watch it, man. I'm telling you. The point of the movie, hashtag spear. Dude, it was crazy. I always say, jokingly, to Chugs, and we always talk about this, can you imagine living back then? It's just absurd. We live, and I know people face a lot of challenges now. And I feel like a lot of people face a lot of different things. And I know with politics involved, the election just happening, people are just super against each other right now in a lot of different areas. But dude, we also live in a great time in a great country. Can't even imagine living back then, dude. Isaiah Rocket, absolutely, we're blessed for our time, man. I think everyone's blessed for their time. That's why I love, this time of the year, waking up today, December 1st, the holidays, Christmas, which don't get me wrong, I miss being able to hang out with my friends and family back home. I'd love to be able to go back to Central PA. Shout out. I was going to say, where are you guys spending Christmas? Or are you guys going back for the holidays? Is that a weird thing to spam? But I miss being able to go back to my hometown on Christmas. However, though, pretty cool. My mom, she's going to be coming down here to Dallas for her very first Christmas in Dallas. I'm pretty hyped up about that. So she doesn't know yet, though. So, and I don't think she's going to watch today's show. If she sees today's show, then she's going to know. But Mom, that's what I'm getting you for Christmas. So here's your test to see if you watch the show. 0% chance she's watching today. What up, German? Mitch, how would you feel if the Raiders end up choosing a non-quarterback pick this draft coming up? I would say the only way possible that you don't pick a quarterback in this year's draft is if A, you run into another win, and based on strength of schedule, you're picking at something like 8. And, Cam Ward goes off the board. I think Jalen goes off the board. Shedeur goes off the board. And you're sitting there and you're like, crap, there's not another quarterback that I think deserves going round one. Even Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is a QB where I don't know if I want to take him in round one. And I really think it would fully determine on who the Raiders have at potential head coach, at OC, and how much, a guy like Tom Brady's involved. Jalen Milroe would be interesting, I think, with Brady. But you got to try to bring in somebody that's got some sort of play calling experience with a QB like a Lamar Jackson, a QB with some experience, maybe with a Jalen Hurts or something like that, where that he's not a great passer, but he's just an unbelievable athlete. And can we make it happen? Yeah, dude, that would be tough. I would be pretty heartbroken if that would be the case. The only other way I would say is if the Raiders are picking 2. And again, I'm just giving you scenarios because you asked the question. Raiders are picking 2. They want Shedeur. They don't like Cam Ward. Shedeur goes number 1 of the New York Giants. Raiders are at 2. And instead of them taking Cam Ward or instead of them taking a Travis Hunter, they know they have to replenish a lot of draft picks. and they take the best trade possible. They trade back, and then they try to get a few extra players at a few different positions. That would be my best case scenario, but I'm not kidding you, dude. If we went through this year and we also would potentially know like what the Raiders could be doing. Because like if you're in free agency, right? And if the Raiders go out and they sign Kirk Cousins and they sign him to, let's say, like a, I don't know, $20 million deal, or maybe they trade for Kirk Cousins. And if they trade for Cousins, he would only be on the books for the Raiders. It'd be $27 million for 1 year. So it'd be like a $27 million rental, which, if you paid Minshew 2 for 25, 1 year for 27 for Kirk, I think it's a lot better. Anyway, though, you could like do a 1 year rental with Kirk. Like if that, then I could be like, all right, maybe they won't take a quarterback. Like that's a different scenario. If you go into the draft and your only quarterback is Aidan O'Connell, or your only quarterback is Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, or it's only Gardner Minshew, like I'm going to be sitting there like, you got to take a QB. So I think it's funny like how much we're going to talk about the draft and how much that's going to change and how much all those conversations are going to change once we see the hirings in January, hirings potentially in February, what free agency brings. I mean, it changes all these conversations, which is, sadly, is something that I'm looking forward to with a 2-10 football team. But dude, imagine you get through the year, they have the chance to take a flipping QB, and they don't do it. Oh, dude, you are something else right now, bro. I wish I could show you guys how curled up he is underneath my feet. What's up, dude? Here, I'm gonna take a picture of him. I'm gonna post it on IG. Though it kind of looks like I'm pooping. Not gonna lie. All right, if anybody wants to see how cute Chuck is right now, at my Instagram, at Mitchell Renz 365. Hang on a second here. I'm not gonna lie, dude's been a stage 4 clinger, which I get it, but also Alex, like she goes on vacation. Is there anybody here watching from Germany? There's a question. Is anybody watching here from Germany? Though that picture I just posted on my IG story, it definitely does look like I'm sitting on the toilet. So that's actually hilarious. Is anybody here from Germany? Because Alex, she's taking a work trip. She's going to Germany on, I want to say Tuesday, and she's out of town for like 5 days. I was actually like trying to figure out a way to go. Because, I mean, that's a sick, like, work trip, like going to Germany for work, Christmas holidays. Germany, it's beautiful over there during Christmas time. But I was, like, trying to figure out a way to go. I know I've said it a bunch on the show. I used to live in Cologne for 1 year. It was such a cool experience. And I was like, oh, man, could we figure out a way to get there? But she's going to be in the Frankfurt area. And I was like, dude, that'd be insane if, like, a Raiders fan who watches the show from Germany's like, dude, that's sick. That'd be sick. What's up, Just? The Raiders should draft Penny from Syracuse. Any thoughts on some extensions this year from Ryan Decker? I mean, to me personally, I think the Raiders are kind of showing you that they are waiting for next season. Like, I think they're trying to show you that they're trying to just save up a little bit where, think about the amount of players, even in, July, August, when we were talking about contract extensions. I mean, I am shocked that the Raiders didn't offer at least one extension to any of these players right here. Malcolm Kuntz, Marcus Epps, Trevon Merrick, Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, Nate Hobbs. Like, there's a lot of impact players there. Adam Butler, a lot of impact players that, you could make an argument. At least one of those guys deserves a contract extension. Do you agree with that? Y for yes and for no. That at least one of those players that I mentioned, with the amount of salary cap space that we have, deserve to get an extension. What I'm really, really curious to see what they're going to do is if they do actually a full rebuild. And one of the things that, this is why I think it's important to watch how a team kind of goes throughout the importance of the year. And when you kind of read the tea leaves out a little bit, this is why I think like it is important to, even though this year stinks right now, but it's why it's important to watch it in May, June, July, August, why you should watch Raiders Sport. We put out content all the time, but like you can kind of connect the dots on certain things where when you think about first year head coach, usually your job's pretty safe, usually, right? Unless you're win 2 games. Usually it's pretty safe. But like if you know that your plan was to get a quarterback and you did not get your quarterback of your choosing and you're going into a season with Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, I don't care how confident you are, at the end of the day that you're not going to win a Super Bowl. So could you start to prepare for the following year. Like, they had money to be able to go out and sign free agents. They had money to be able to make moves before the season started. They decided to save their money, to save it up and to, roll it over. You don't trade away a player like Devontae. And I know Devontae Adams started to throw some hissy fits in there, and, he was trying to get traded away. But then also, the Raiders, I think they traded Devontae because he wanted to go, and I totally get that. But, these are moves that you don't make if you're trying to win now, but if you're trying to prepare for the future. I'll admit, if they are trying to prepare for the future, they probably should have sold some other players during the NFL trade deadline. But when you look at how many players they could have given extensions to, how much money they have salary cap space right now, the amount of draft picks that they have, I want to say that they might get an extra pick, and I forget what the comp pick is, but I believe they got 10 to 11 picks right now. You got 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 3 in the third. You have 3 picks in round 6. They have a lot of picks where they could do a rebuild. And when you don't give extensions to just certain guys on your team, I always say the linebacker position maybe isn't as important as some of the other ones on defense. But when you look at a dude like a Robert Spillane and how just important I think he is to the culture of the Raiders, and, just a guy like that, and they might let him walk, that screams to me rebuild. It also screams that there might be a bunch of brand new coaches coming in. That would be the other reason why you don't give extensions to these guys, because you're like, well, what if they don't fit the new schemes that we're end up bringing in? I think this offseason, and I feel, Alex and I always joke, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I watch The Bachelor, I watch The Bachelorette, The Golden Bachelor. I think those shows are kind of wild and they're entertaining. But every show, they're always like, this is the most wild ending ever. This is the craziest season finale ever. I mean this when I say this. I think this is going to be the craziest offseason ever. And I say that every single offseason, but I really do. I think I've been doing this show every day for 5 years. But I think that this offseason around the Raiders is going to be the craziest offseason ever. We got to get a QB. There's going to be a lot of new faces coming in and out. I can't wait to see how it ends up going down. But craziest season ever. What up, Ron? Telesco just gets the talent in the door. We have someone else who does the contracts. Yeah, Tom Delaney is the guy that does the contracts. And Tom's actually one of the most respected guys in the biz. Very, very good at contracts. And has done a lot of good work. So Delaney, I forget how many years he's been with us, but he's very well respected. What up, Evil Mitch? Raiders are hurting themselves if they win a game. I hear you, right? And I feel like every Raider fan, and let me know down below, are you Team Tank? Why for yes and for no? And if anybody's going to rip anybody for being Team Tank and calling people not a real Raider fan, you can go F somewhere else. To me, as soon as I hear if you're rooting for the Raiders to lose, you're not a real fan, it screams Karen to me. Don't tell me what I should feel. Don't tell me how I should react. To me, I'm looking at this as more of a long-term play where, the Chiefs game is the perfect example. Everybody, I think that's Team Tank, wakes up in the morning of the Chiefs game, and you're like, it's all right. Today's a win-win situation. If we beat the Chiefs, cool. If we lose, hey, we're one step closer to getting a QB. But as soon as that game starts, right? As soon as the game starts, you're like, kind of be cool to beat the Chiefs, you're like, all right, nah, you kind of get back, and Raiders are down at halftime, and you're like, all right, no, we're not going to do that. Third quarter starts, Aidan starts cooking a little bit. We get one step closer. We're like, oh my God, we might actually win this game. And we're getting even closer to might win this game. And then you start driving down the field in the fourth quarter, and you're like, all right, I kind of want the Raiders to beat the Chiefs. And then obviously the game ends. It's a heartbreaking loss. You're frustrated. And then the moment that game happens, you're like, all right, I'm glad we lost, right? I'm glad that we're one step closer to getting a QB. I get the feelings, the roller coaster emotions, and how much I hate it to my core that I'm saying that I'm Team Tank. But at the same time, man, we got to start winning football games, and we got to get ourselves a freaking QB. So I don't have any problem with anybody saying Team Tank. But you're right. I admit, I think every game that we win, it does hurt us. The only game, and this is where I want, the Week 13 rooting guide, this is where I want some other teams to get a few dubs, right? I want the Jags to win an extra game. To me, even if the Raiders are at number 2, you have an opportunity to get a franchise QB. So if a team like the Titans can snag another win, if a team like the Jags can snag another win, I want the Raiders to be able to win one game and us to not worry about if they win a game. That's the type of insurance that I want. And maybe that's not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. But you're telling me right now, if you told me that we could win one football game. Dude, Raiders, Saints, the Raiders against Derek Carr. I don't care what anybody says. That game would be fun if we could root for the Raiders to win that game. Like, even if you're a Derek Carr fan, like, if you're a competitor, are you kidding me? Like, when I think about, like, some of my best friends, like, that I grew up against playing, and some of the people that I respected the most were, like, my friends. And for a guy like Derek, dude, he's so fired up for that game. And if you're the Raiders, you should be fired up to go up against somebody that's probably going to go down in the history books as one of the best quarterbacks you've ever had. Like, good friends going up against each other, those games are memorable, dude. What's going on, man? You want to tell him your next favorite product from Panda? I'm glad. All right, so here's Chuck's favorite product. He was telling me, like, bro, you got to tell him about the collagen. So this might be kind of a weird one out there for some people. Personally, never even heard of collagen. And then my fiance, Alex, she was taking some collagen pills for, like, hair, nails, makes you look pretty, that type of stuff. And a lot of y'all probably noticed I've been trying to grow out my hair. So I was like, all right, like, what can I do to make my hair healthier? Because when you have short hair, I don't think you realize, like, how much you don't do for your hair. And then when you get, like, a little bit longer hair, I know there's probably at least, like, one or two women, Blue Richards probably watch right now, like, your hair's not even long, shut up. But, you want to start taking care of your body in different ways. To me, I take a little bit of collagen, one scoop after I work out. Sometimes I'll take it, like, after a meal. And it helps out your nails. It helps out, like, for me, I'm not afraid to admit it. I've said it before. My feet are nasty. So it's from playing sports. At least that's my excuse. But because the collagen helps my nails, helps out my hair, I've been growing out my hair a lot. So if you're looking for another product to get at Panda, if any of that kind of describes you, collagen, pandasups.com, code Black Friday, 30% off. I don't know when the deal's going to end. I'm not going to lie. He told me it was going to be done on Friday. So, I mean, it could be done in the next hour. I have no idea. It's December 1st, and we're still talking about Black Friday deals. Shout out to Panda Subs. Code Black Friday, 30% off. If you spend more than $50, you get some free gifts. Dude, Chuck's hyped up right now. All right, y'all. Give me some questions here. We got another 18 minutes, and then I got to get the heck out of here. Chuck's like, dude, you promised we're going for a walk. We're playing with the ball. Dude, I know. It's going to be sick, I promise. Joe Seppi, my hair is just above my ass. That's hilarious. Well, here's the thing, bro. If you want to have, like, smooth wipes, collagen. There you go. It's going to be like this type of hair, just free flowing down there. Too much? All right, I'm sorry. Too much. Christy, short hair looks good on some men. Just saying. Oh, dude, I hear you. I hear you. If we can get Sanders or Ward, who would be next as a rookie quarterback from Nate's journey? It's a good question. So you're saying if we can't get those two guys, to me, I would say it's Jalen Milroe. But I also think that conversation totally changes just based on what you have at your coaching position right now. Like, if you have a certain OC, if you have a certain head coach, I think that totally changes my conversation around what type of quarterback that you're going to potentially get. But, dude, I'll tell you this right now. If you're in a situation where you don't have either of those two guys, I think that you better be hoping, for the love of God, that the Raiders got a Justin Fields at, like, I don't know, $10, $11 million on a one-year contract. Maybe they got somebody like a Kirk Cousins on if you trade for him, probably give up. I bet you if the Raiders gave up one of their other third-round picks, they might be able to get Cousins, especially if they want to go to Michael Penix next season. And by trading for Kirk, it's $27 million essentially on a one-year rental. And then Cousins' last 2 years on his contract, the Raiders would have to pay him $59 million if they kept him. But because he's got $0 million guaranteed on his contract, if you're the Raiders, you'd be able to just get out of those final 2 years and you could cut Kirk. So I do think that, like, it's a more expensive route, but an option that the Raiders could do, and I think it's actually a smart option that the Raiders got to consider, is because, again, what you can't have happen. Now, if you're picking 1-2, you don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. But if you're outside of the top two, you have to upgrade at the quarterback position. You have to do it. Like, again, no disrespect to Aidan, no disrespect to Gardner Minshew. We can't do this song and dance again in the next offseason. If they do, whoever is in charge will get fired, I promise you. So because of that, I think if you're the Raiders, you have a certain option, which is like the cheap free agency option. And this is, again, if you're not picking in the top two, your cheap free agency option to me would be going out and you sign Justin Fields. You sign Fields to a one-year deal. give him maybe like, I don't know, 10, 11, maybe $12 million. He's got a good relationship with Champ Kelly. Champ Kelly was a part of the Bears regime when they first drafted Fields early on. And you go out and you get a coach that can scheme up for a running quarterback. And then I would say your potential guy that you're targeting is you're still going out and you're trying to get a Shedeur or Cam Ward. Maybe they fall to you. Or then maybe if you're like, all right, we didn't get one of those two guys, I would take a best player available approach in that first round and then think about potentially trading up into the back for, I don't know, maybe a Jalen Milroe, could be something like that. More expensive option here, the second tier option, I would say is going out and trading for Kirk Cousins. You're probably going to have to give up, let's say, a second, maybe a third round pick. Hopefully you can get a third because Atlanta did draft Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 overall. So because you're spending a little bit more, you're giving up the draft pick. You're also going to have to pay him $27 million is what Kirk Cousins will be owed by the Raiders if they trade for him. Again, you can cut him the next seasons. He's got 0 guaranteed on his contract, so you can move on. But you go out and get Kirk Cousins, and then same thing. You're trying to get one of those top 2 quarterbacks. Maybe you look at a Jalen Milroe. Maybe you look at another QB that, I don't know, resembles the style of play that you're going to get with Kirk. More expensive option, and maybe the most expensive option, trading for Dak Prescott. If you trade for Dak Prescott on the books, it is, I want to say, $48 million in that first year. If you trade for Dak, then because of the way his contract is structured right now at Dallas, and because he's got an injury guarantee, so he got $104 million snap of a finger when he got injured, and that puts a lot of money on Dallas. If the Raiders go out and trade for Dak, they owe him $49 million, and then I want to say this is like back half of his final 2 years. It's easy to get out of. I don't know if it's exactly 0 guaranteed. Dak does have a no trade clause, so he'd have to approve of where he decides that he's going to end up going. But I would say for the Raiders, those are your 3 options if you're not picking in the top 2 of the draft. Like, you got to be able to figure out a way to upgrade at the quarterback position. Because if you go into the draft again, you miss, and then it's like Aidan or a Jalen Milroe or whoever, I don't think that you're going to have a lot of success for a long time in the league. What do you think? Who would you pick? I think he just likes Carson Beck because he's a dog. That's all. Kush, I'm going to say Knicks, but wouldn't be surprised if Daniels gets it. For Rookie of the Year, yeah, I mean, I said it before where personally, I think that Brock Bowers does actually deserve to be in the conversation a lot more than what he is in the conversation. If I was a betting man right now, I would still give the advantage to Jaden Daniels. And the reason why is I just believe in Jaden more. I will admit, when you go back and you look at the history of Cliff Kingsbury's offenses in the second half of seasons, there's a lot of metrics that prove that people start to figure him out and he doesn't change as well as what he should be. But to me also, like, both teams, I think it might really come down to which teams make the playoffs, which teams don't. And because both guys are playing well at different times. Like, Jaden played better at the first half of the year than he's playing now. Bo's starting to get a little bit hotter. He's starting to get it cooking as it goes on. But I do think it come down to, like, which teams end up making the playoffs or not. But if it comes down to, like, which player's doing the most crazy, unbelievable thing at their position, it's Brock Bowers. Like, Bowers right now, the numbers he's putting up, and I don't know if you guys watched the show that I did yesterday, but when you really sit down and you look at some of the numbers that Brock Bowers is putting up, like, and appreciate them, we've never seen a rookie tight end do what Brock Bowers is doing. So listen to these numbers here, right? He's got 113 targets, 84 grabs, 884 yards, and 5 touchdowns, okay? That's what Brock Bowers has right now. The only reason why I'm like, why can't Bowers win NFL Rookie of the Year is because in 2022, Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver, not a running back, not a quarterback, won the NFL Rookie of the Year on a team that finished dead last in their division. I don't care if the Jets were 7-10 and the Raiders are 2-15, whatever the hell they are. Last is last as far as I'm concerned. Shout out to Ricky Bobby, kind of. Garrett Wilson that year, okay, already has had less receptions than what Brock Bowers has right now. Yes, Garrett Wilson had over 1,000 yards, but Wilson also only had 4 touchdowns. He won the NFL Rookie of the Year that year, okay? I get that a tight end's never won it. But if Brock Bowers keeps this pace, okay, he is on pace for 160 targets, 119 catches, 1,252 yards, and 7 touchdowns, okay? That's what he's on pace to do. First off, that's a Raiders single season record right now. The most single season receptions record is held by Darren Waller. He had 107. Like, that's an incredible stat right there. Devontae Adams has had great years with the Raiders that year previous. This to me would be arguably maybe the best season that a pass catcher has ever had for the Silver and Black. And I know the touchdown numbers aren't there, but I think a lot of people would agree if our quarterback play wasn't what it is, hey, maybe Aidan gets it cooking and maybe those numbers go up a little bit. The reason why that those numbers are so impressive, though, and again, for a lot of the OG watchers, they probably heard some of these stats before, but if Bowers is on pace for 119 catches, okay, the current single season record by a rookie tight end is 86. 86. Bowers might break that next week. Targets, he's on pace for 160. The record right now is Sam Laporta with 118. Mike Ditka, a record that's been held since 1961. Receiving yards, 1,076. Bowers is on pace to break that record by almost 200 yards. Yes, the 12 touchdowns by Ditka in 1961 is right there, and Bowers is not on pace to break that. But shouldn't we also reward players that are playing better at the back half of the season? Does it surprise me that Bowers is playing better without Luke Getsy? No, it doesn't. And Bowers' last 4 games, 48 targets, 32 catches, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, okay? That's in his last 4 games. If you take those numbers and you put those out from a 17-game sample size, that's 136 catches, 1,483 yards, 13 touchdowns. My point is what Brock Bowers is doing in front of our eyes has never been done before. Isn't that more worthy of what Rookie of the Year is? And if you want to make an argument like, oh, he's on a bad team, doesn't that make it almost more impressive? And I get it. Like, the quarterback position is no doubt more important. It is. It's no doubt more important. But it's like the NFL MVP having to be a QB. Why? What if the most valuable player isn't a quarterback? And I get it. Lamar's been great this season. You know, Derrick Henry, I think, deserves to be in a conversation. Saquon Barkley, I think, deserves to be in a conversation. Like, if MVP just means QB, then let's just call it the quarterback award. Like, let's give other awards out. Like, I don't know. Like, Rookie of the Year, to me, the best rookie in the NFL is Brock Bowers. He's unbelievable, dude. Heck, I had this conversation. Let's get into maybe one of the most crazy debates that I think you can get in right now to Raider Nation. If you got a bunch of Raider friends, okay, and you guys hang out, you guys talk about stuff, I want you to look at all these people and ask them this question. If you want to see Raider fans get tied up into a mental pretzel, and I mean a mental pretzel, you ask them this question that I'm about to ask you, okay? You're building the Raiders right now, okay? You're building the Raiders. You can only take one player out of these 2 guys to move forward with. You can only take one. Are you going with Brock Bowers, type 89, or are you going to go with Maxx Crosby, type 98? You're moving forward as a franchise. Let's say you're on Madden and you can only keep one of these players. You're not going to get the other. Are you keeping Brock Bowers on the offensive side of the football? Reminder, you got to get a QB this offseason. Then also, or are you going to stick with Maxx Crosby, a guy that's been as important as what he's been to your defensive side of the football, or are you going to keep your defense? I think this is a very interesting, what do you believe builds championships? Do you think defense does? Do you think offense does? But if you need a franchise QB, don't you need somebody to throw to? All I'm saying is I do think that this is a very interesting question. I am seeing a lot of 98s from Zalesbo, Brian Wilson. I see Angel's going to say Bowers. Alyssa says Bowers. Miguel's going to go with Bowers. Javier says Bowers. Seeing some 98s. My point of that is, though, how difficult is the question is that? Dude, that is a mental pretzel if I've ever seen one. And I think that, easy way to say it is, what type of head coach do we have? Do we have a defensive-minded head coach? Maybe you want to go with Crosby. Oh, do we have an offensive-minded head coach? Maybe we want to go with Bowers. Oh, wait, we need a franchise QB. Kind of need to throw to somebody. I don't know, dude. It's a good question. I think it's a good one. I think if you guys can, make sure you give that one out. All right, I got about 5 more minutes here. I do want to give one more shout-out here to another Panda Sups product. This one is the Sleepy, and I'm not going to have any problems taking a nap after I do this live show. That I promise you. But if you're somebody like me where some nights I have trouble going to sleep, honestly, especially after Raiders game days, we get so hyped up on those games and it's kind of hard to calm down a little bit. And sometimes my mind is just racing a million miles a minute. Like, I don't know about y'all. Like, sometimes, like, Alex and I will joke, we'll sit down, we'll watch a movie, and I'll fall asleep, like, super quick in that movie. And then as soon as it's time to go to bed, I kind of sit there and I'm like, oh, crap, I can't really go to sleep. If you have problems like falling asleep and staying asleep, like this sleepy formula from Panda, I'll be real, I use it so much that it's basically gone right now. It helps me sleep like a freaking baby, especially on a night where I know I need a good night's rest. So it's another product. Again, I'll put the link for you guys, which I might still just have it down here in the comments. It's, again, in the description. Code Black Friday, 30% off. I don't know how much longer this deal is going to be going on for. I thought it was supposed to end before, but code Black Friday, 30% off. And if you spend more than $50, you get some free gifts in there. All right, y'all. Let's get some questions going for the last few minutes here of the show. Again, appreciate everyone for just waking up with me. Good morning to the nation. I shout out to Rebel for being the bang leader already in the month of December. Dude's a crazy man. But I love the month of December, dude. I think it's the best month of the year. I really do. I think it's Christmas time is a great, great time. And, you know, being able to sit up here and talk to the amount of people that I do, I don't take that for granted. Yes, I know that we work hard. I know a lot of people work hard, but I don't take it for granted being able to just talk to the amount of people that we do every single day. So believe me, we appreciate y'all. Any fans here from Fresno? Now, I want to get out to LA. I don't know how close that is to Fresno, which you guys are going to realize I am super bad at geography. But LA's a city I've been trying to get out to. It's also the city where Alex is going to do her bachelorette party in. Grew up in Sacktown, Victoryville. Mitch, you still think that we are getting Sanders? I do. Like, I think the writing's on the wall because of the whole Tom Brady thing where, you know, like if you're Brady and Shedeur have such a unique relationship that I think that that's just kind of like the plan that the Raiders want to do. And I think it's going to be one of the ways that, you know, AP could potentially keep his job. Like I said, I was told by a source a few weeks ago, I did a show on it. You guys can go check it out. That AP like convinced the right people that he could get another chance at it. And, you know, Dion was understanding that, you know, sometimes it takes more than one year, right? Like if you can go out and you can get your guys, like it makes it a lot easier. And Dion was understanding of that. But I'm not kidding you. If Dion and Shedeur, like, we don't want AP to be the head coach, I don't think AP is the head coach. And I think that they would go with a guy like Mike Vrabel. So I still think it's Sanders, though. And I think it's like a situation like last season that, you know, we talked about Jaden Daniels so much, and that was the plan. The plan was to go get Jaden Daniels. But unfortunately, certain things in the draft, you know, happen in different ways. Sorry. What do we got here? Working the 925. What's up, man? AOC has that Tom Brady vibes. You know, there's a part about AOC that does kind of give you like the Tom Brady vibes, and I get it. He's a player where you look at him and you're like, there's no way that this guy can be good. He just, you know, continues to like prove doubters wrong. He's worked his way up. He does impress me from time to time. But I do think, like, you know, sooner or later, you just got to be able to get a better QB overall. And I don't know if you're going to find another Tom Brady. And maybe AOC has a better career than all of us ever anticipated, myself included. But I do think, like, you know, there's always, like, for the next 14 to 15 years, I think that there's going to be a spot on a roster for Aidan O'Connell. Like, to me, he is that Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick. People always wonder, how does Nate Peterman stick around in the league? It's because they can learn playbooks and they're really intelligent players. So we'll see, man. I wish the best for AOC. I hate that people think that I don't like Aidan. It really does bother me. It's probably one of the hardest parts about doing this job sometimes, where you're like, you have to give honest opinions about people that you do really like and about people that you respect. It's tough. Megalodon, on paper, Lil Norv would be OC, but TB12 would be heavily involved. I think if you're the next OC, you're the next head coach, you got to be willing to take a little bit of a back seat. Like, you're still driving shotgun. You're still driving the car, but you got to be okay to Tom Brady in the back seat going, hey, I know it says go straight, but I need you to take a right-hand turn. And I don't know if all head coaches or all offensive coordinators would be willing to do that. And it is going to be a really important thing for, you know, whoever this next guy is for the Raiders. Maybe it's AP, maybe it's Mike Vrabel, but both of those guys would be willing to listen to Tom Brady. And it's why, you know, some people are like, oh, let's go get Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's not going to be the Raiders' next head coach because Ben's not going to be somebody that is going to want to take a seat to Tom Brady based on what I've heard. Let's go to Mock, and then I'm going to get out of here. The only way I'm sticking around get the super chats flowing here with some questions, or else, I'm gonna go peace out, man. What up, Mock? Bad OC, not the best quarterback room. Give AP a fighting chance. I mean, I was somebody that wanted Antonio Pierce, right? And I don't disagree with you where, the season's been really unfortunate in terms of injuries. Never thought that the injuries would be as bad as what they've been. I knew that Luke Getsy was going to be a good hire. And, one of the reasons that it's important to look at Antonio Pierce going forward is, like, we got to stop looking at the past. Like, now we just got to look at the future. And to me, Antonio Pierce did show you this offseason that if he gets his quarterback and his first take at offensive coordinator, Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, that, he can build a good room. And I do think if Jaden and Cliff were here with the Raiders, we'd be a much different football team. I don't know if we'd probably be somewhere around, I would say 6 wins, maybe 7 wins if we're lucky. It's still been a tough schedule. But, you could definitely see that we were moving in the right direction. The problem is AP was hired then, to go with Luke Getsy. And because AP made a decision to go with Luke Getsy, and because, Telesco brought in Minshew, he had to make a decision to go with either Minshew or Aidan O'Connell. And I was somebody that thought that going with Minshew was going to be the right thing to do. I think we can all agree, looking at this season now, is they should have started Aidan from week 1. My point is, the next head coach that you have, if that's AP, you need to know that they can make the right evaluations at the quarterback position, because that's something that you got to figure out. Yes, Antonio Pierce isn't winning football games because the Raiders don't have a QB, but also look at the actions that led up to that scenario where AP hired a bad OC. That can't happen again this offseason. Yes, he had an opportunity, but again, like, you have to be able to plan going forward. And the next guy you bring in, you have to be able to trust wholeheartedly that they can get the right quarterback, they can build the right system, and you can get this thing going in the right direction. Antonio Pierce didn't make the right decisions where we are right now. And I want a head coach that shows me that he can get better and better and learn from some of his mistakes. But then also, like, there's situations, almost every single week where you look at how Antonio Pierce handles situations, especially at the end of the games. And, it's like that old saying, like, good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. The Raiders have lost some pretty ugly games this season. And I think a lot of it, you can point at the finger of a guy like Antonio Pierce and how he manages a game where, those are the type of things that don't really come down to how your quarterback plays. That's why I think it's important that you watch the final 5 games and how AP does, where even in a season that's 2-10, you still got to be able to make a lot of situational decisions, and you still got to be able to make a lot of important decisions going forward. So I hear you in saying that the Raiders don't have a QB. Don't put that on AP. But AP also hasn't done a lot of right things to get to this current situation, things that he does have control of. And, he's got to learn how to, I think, handle a locker room a little bit better, where I think AP thought that he could say whatever he wants, and you can say whatever you want when you're winning football games. If AP says business decisions and the Raiders have a winning record, honestly, I bet you people don't care. But when you're losing games and you're not doing certain things that you thought that maybe you'd be able to do, and you say business decisions, you call your team the worst team in the NFL, like, those things don't always go well in the locker room. And I think AP's got to learn a little bit. I hope that he does, because I want AP to work, man. Like, you want Antonio Pierce to work out, and I hope that this situation turns into a Dan Campbell situation and we turn out to be one of the biggest, baddest mother effing teams out there, because that's what we all want, man. That's what we all want. That's the final question. Appreciate everyone. Reminder, Jugs is getting ready to go live. He might already be live over on our Texans channel. Football games get kicked off here in 57 minutes. One more time, if you're wondering which teams that you should be rooting for today: the Jags, the Patriots, the Browns, the Jets, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Titans, and the Philadelphia Eagles are all the teams that y'all should be rooting for. Enjoy your Sunday. I know that I'm going to enjoy it. I haven't had a Sunday off in a very long time. Peace out to the nation out there. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Rebel Montana, you're an absolute legend, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be making a show. The next time I'll be live is going to be on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Peace out.